everyone, it's Erica. Welcome back to Maniacal Reader. It definitely has been a long time, but it's good to see you. I've been gone so long because I was sick when I filmed my February wrap-up, and then school was too busy and hectic for me to find any time to film. Then school ended just a few weeks ago, and then I got sick again. So I've been sick twice in the past couple of months. That's why I've been gone so long. Today I'm going to be telling you the books that I read in March and April, since I never did a wrap-up. The first book I read in March was Unremembered by Jessica Brody. This is the first book in her Unremembered trilogy. This is a YA sci-fi dystopian trilogy. It follows this girl named Serafina, who is the victim of a plane crash. But she has no memories of getting on the plane and no memories before the plane crash. She also has no memories at all. She then meets this guy named Zen, who claims to have known her before the crash and claims that they were in love. Through talking to Zen, Serafina learns that a corporation called Diotech wants to control her memories and control her mind. Also, Serafina is not human. She's sort of like a super advanced human that's been manufactured completely by science, thanks to Diotech. Serafina spends most of the book trying to escape from them, since she wants to have free will and be her own person. Serafina and Zen in their escape form a romance, and that's what this first book explores. I enjoyed the character of Serafina, and it was interesting to learn more about her since she was discovering who she is as a person as well. I thought her POV was interesting. It also seems that Zen is a genuine guy who really cares for Serafina, so I really enjoyed him as a character as well. I also enjoyed some of the side characters in this book. Serafina is the only survivor of a plane crash, and she has no memories of who she is or her life at all. She automatically gets put into the foster system and gets placed with a foster family. Through this foster family, we meet a guy named Cody, who's the biological son in this foster family. I thought he was a nice addition in this book, and he definitely added a humorous element to the story. I also liked the ending of this book because Serafina finally starts to figure out why she is the way she is, and since she's an advanced human, she gets some insight into her abilities and actually gets one of her abilities back, which I think was interesting. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars because I really liked it. The second book I read was Unforgotten. This is the second book in Jessica Brody's Unremembered trilogy. This book starts off right where the previous one left off. At the start of this book, Zen and Serafina end up in a different time period. Their romance is definitely tested in this book. Also, Diotech is still chasing after Serafina, and they use a pretty interesting tool to do it. They create another super advanced human. Their new creation is a boy named Kalen. Kalen is similar to Serafina in that he is also a super advanced human. The only difference about him is that he's stronger than Serafina is, and he's like the next generation of super advanced humans. Given that Serafina and Zen's romance is tested in this book, Serafina finds herself falling for Kalen. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars because I thought it was amazing. Zen and Serafina's romance is tested, and I liked that there was an additional romantic element in this book, and it just made things interesting. I also loved the plot in this book. There are so many twists and turns in this book that I just couldn't believe it. The next book I read was Unchanged, the third and final book in the Unremembered trilogy. This book was the best of all all three. I enjoyed everything about this book, the characters, the plot, and it was a really good novel, but I couldn't get past the ending of this book. I understand the reason why the trilogy had to end the way it did. It was just unexpected, and it sort of felt flat for me. I felt that this book was a great build up to the ending, but the ending threw me for a loop. I'll put a link to my review of this book down below so that you guys can read it and find out exactly what I mean. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars because of the ending, but overall this book was a great end to the trilogy, and I will definitely be rereading it again sometime in the future, for sure. After reading the Unremembered trilogy, I felt that it was so action-packed and intense, I decided to read something lighter, so I picked up Never Never, her novella series by Colleen Hoover and Taryn Fisher. This is a new adult romance series. This novella series is really short, but it follows these two characters named Charlie and Salis. Charlie and Salis used to date, but for some reason they wake up one morning with no memory of each other and no memory of who they are as people. So they have to try to figure out their past and what the hell is going on. They don't know who they are or where they live or anything about their lives, which is really weird. But they eventually meet each other and get to know each other and start to really like each other. Throughout the 3 books, Charlie and Salis figure out that they're losing their memories every 48 hours, and in order to keep track of everything, they write facts down in letters, like their family's name, where they come from, the people they know, their family, and just basic facts about who they are in general. I loved this novella series. He was on the edge of my seat as Salis and Charlie try to figure out the mystery of why they're losing their memories. I really liked this novella series, but the reason behind Charlie and Salis losing their memories was soulful and romantic and beautiful, but the reason why he also fell flat for me in comparison to the suspense and the mystery behind it all. I gave part 1 5 out of 5 stars. I gave part 2 5 out of 5 stars as well, but I gave part 3 3 out of 5 stars because I really liked the characters and the plot of this novella series. It's just I docked 2 stars because of the ending. I wanted to continue with the new adult romance theme, so I picked up The Mistake by Elle Kennedy. This is the second book in her off-campus series. In this book, we follow a guy named Logan, which was in the previous book, The Deal. Logan is one of Garrett Graham's best friends. Logan is definitely a player on Briar's hockey team and off. He likes to get a lot of girls, but he meets this girl named Grace, and his world is changed. Grace and Logan sort of hit it off, but then Logan makes a mistake, and it changes everything. His mistake makes Grace want to leave Briar, and she does. That's sort of where the story in this book starts off. Logan's mistake sort of begins the rest of the story in the book. When Grace comes back to Briar University, she wants nothing to do with Logan, but Logan is determined to get her back. I found that their romance in this book was sweet and genuine. I liked Grace and Logan's connection, and I liked hearing the backstories of both Grace and Logan. Even though Logan is a star hockey player, he doesn't really have the best home life. He comes from a poor town just outside of where Briar University is, and he has a brother that works in an auto shop that their dad owns. Grace's parents are divorced. Grace's dad works at Briar University as a professor, and I think Grace's mom works in Europe somewhere. She's like an artist in Paris or something. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars because I really liked it. I loved getting to know these two characters. This book was really good. The next book I read was The Score. This is the 3rd book in Elle Kennedy's Off-Campus series, and it's the most current book that's out right now. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars because I liked it more than the previous 2. This book follows Dean De Laurentiis, one of Garrett Graham's best friends, and his romance with a girl named Allie Hayes. Dean is also a star hockey player on Briar University's team, and he's a rich guy who's definitely a player. The biggest player on campus that everyone knows. Dean is like his typical rich guy who doesn't really have anything unique about him. Allie is like a drama student at Briar University. They start a romance together by chance when Dean and Allie have a one-night stand. But something happens to Dean in this book that changes his perspective on who he is and life in general. I enjoyed getting to know the backstory of Dean and that he is a really good person underneath this rich guy player vibrato. And I realized that he is actually a genuine and sensitive guy who is kind of entitled, but he has a nice softer side to him as well. I do have to say that the sexual scenes in this book were definitely the most descriptive and explicit in this book versus the previous books in this series, because just of who the characters are. I would say that Dean and Allie, in terms of their romance, are more adventurous when it comes to romance and sex. Even though this book did have scenes like that, the author did a really good job at creating a genuine romance and genuine emotion between these two characters and their backstories, which I appreciated. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. This book ended on a cliffhanger, and I definitely can't wait to read this book. The 4th book in this series comes out this September, so I'm eagerly awaiting that. Another book I read in March was Slammed by Colleen Hoover. I gave this book 2 out of 5 stars because it was okay, but I didn't really like it very much. This is a new adult romance book. It follows this girl named Lakin and her romance with a guy named Will. Lakin is forced to be the rock for her mother and brother since her father recently died, and because of her father's death, the family has to move. In this new city, Lakin meets Will, and the two hit it off. Things seem to be going great for Will and Lakin until Lakin realizes that Will is her teacher at her new high school. When I found this out, I didn't really like the dynamic in their relationship that much. I also didn't really think their romance was genuine in this book. It felt like their romance was too insta-love. Romance resembled Bella and Edward, and I hated the Twilight series. So maybe that's why I didn't like this book very much. The only redeeming quality I found in this book was the backstory that happens with Lakin's mom in this book. That's the only part of this book that I felt was sweet and worthwhile reading. There's also something different in this book in terms of the writing style. At certain points in this book, since Will is Lakin's English teacher, and since he loves poetry, there's slam poetry featured in this book But other than that, this book wasn't worth my time reading, and I definitely won't be reading this book in the future. I plan to unhaul it at some point. The final book that I read in March was Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. Nearly everyone on BookTube has heard of this series, and if you haven't, I don't know where you've been because this series is definitely really popular. This book follows a girl named Selena who's a slave in a place called Endovier. When a prince named Dorian sort of picks her up from Endovier, Selena learns that she's been chosen to fight as the king's champion, and she has to win a competition where she fights contestants in this competition. And at the end of that, if she wins and she's the last person standing, she's the one who becomes the king's champion. That's basically the premise of this book. All of you probably already know this, but Selena and the prince sort of have like a friendly banter and a romance in this book, which I thought was sweet, but I wasn't expecting that. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Now, on to the books that I read in April. The first book I read in April was Crown of Midnight. This is the second book in the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. I liked this book so much better. There was more world building in this book. Selena got to develop a relationship with a guy named Cole in this book, which I thought was more genuine and more developed than her sort of romance with Prince Dorian. Selena gets to know more of the conspiracy and the crooked kingdom of his world, and she also gets to remember more of who she is, and we get to see a softer side of Selena in this book because of her romance with Cole. There's also a death that happens in this book, which I won't give away, but I was completely devastated when it happened, and I totally understood what Selena was feeling. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars because overall this book was amazing, and I couldn't wait to get to the next book. Even though I did enjoy Crown of Midnight, I wanted a break from fantasy since I don't really read young adult high fantasy, so in order to give myself a break, I read Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. This is another new adult romance that he wrote. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars because it was absolutely incredible and definitely one of my favorite Colleen Hoover books ever. This book follows a girl named Tate and a guy named Miles. Miles and Tate meet when Tate moves in with her older brother because she needs to move to a new city because she's getting over a relationship and she has the opportunity at a new job. Miles and Tate meet. Miles is her brother's neighbor across the hall in the apartment buildings. Miles and Tate really like each other, but the thing about Miles is that he's trying to get over a relationship of his past, one that he's completely torn up about. So when choosing to have a romance with Tate, they devised 2 rules. Don't talk about each other's pasts, and don't expect a future with the other. Since that doesn't really leave much room for a relationship, the only thing left is casual sex. Through the casual sex, Miles and Tate really enjoy each other, but they also get to know each other really well, and they start to fall hard for each other. This book is interesting because it's told from a dual perspective, from Tate's point of view, which is told in present day, and Miles' point of view, which is told from the past. Through Miles' point of view, the reader gets to know of that past relationship that Miles can't get over about a girl named Rachel. and something tragic and dark happened in Miles' past with this old girlfriend. I won't give too much away because his past is like the cornerstone of this book, but I enjoyed the ending of this book and the secrets of Miles' past. It made this book very intense emotionally, devastatingly so, but there were also some warm and romantic moments as well. The second last book I read in April was Erafire by Sarah J. Maas. This is the third book in the Throne of Glass series. I enjoyed this book a lot. It kicks off right where Crown of Midnight left off. We also get to hear more about secondary characters in this book. One of those characters is a guy named Ronan, which Selena becomes romantically involved with. And we also get to hear from the main story, which we also get to hear from another secondary character in this book named Manon Blackbeak, who is a witch. Her place in this book is to become leader of all the witch clans in this world. There was a lot more world building and a lot more characterization in this book. I enjoyed this book because of the characters, but there wasn't much plot in this book until we get like halfway through the book, to be honest. But I enjoyed all the extra information and all the characters that we get to hear from. I have a feeling that these secondary characters will play a big role in Queen of Shadows, so I think that's why the author put these secondary characters in the world. I won't give too much away about this book since it is part of a series, but I enjoyed it a lot. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read in April was The Assassin's Blade. This is the collection of short novellas that happen as a prequel to the Throne of Glass series. I enjoyed getting to know more of the backstory of Selena and getting to realize why she is the way she is. I also enjoyed Selena's romance with Sam in this book throughout the short novellas. I have a review of this book coming up at the end of the month, so I won't say too much about this book, but I really enjoyed all of the novellas and I really think that they were worth reading. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. Boy, that was a long wrap-up. Those were all of the books that I read in March and April. Comment down below if you've read any of these books and how you feel about them. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!